Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 63 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. Coming up on today's show, we'll look back at the weekend that was at Bristol on dirt over the Easter holiday. We'll recap that. Also look ahead to this weekend's race at Talladega. Plus, we'll have our news and notes segment and our Ask David segment at the end of today's show. As always, we are presented by our friends at TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter came on board as the primary sponsor this year on David's '08 Ford Mustang, and we want to tell you a little bit about what they do. TicketSmarter is a national ticket resale marketplace with tickets to over 125,000 live events, including NASCAR and other forms of motorsports. Fans can get tickets to every NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck race throughout the season. Visit TicketSmarter.com. That's TicketSmarter.com. David Starr joins us right now. David, nice Easter weekend. You had the weekend off, but nonetheless, a great time with the family and friends and getting to enjoy some good racing this weekend on television.
Man, it was unbelievable. I had a great weekend, caught up on some yard work, caught up being a husband, being a dad, got to spend some time with my boys. And, man, Easter was awesome. Got to spend it with my family and my brothers and sister, and man, it was just a great weekend. Had a great weekend, but man, Tyler, Dominic, the race I saw Sunday night was unbelievable. Didn't catch the truck race, but I heard it was I heard it was just as good as well. But man, what a great Easter weekend for everyone, I believe.
Yeah, a win for Kyle Busch. We'll have plenty of discussion about that on the show here in just a moment. But before we do, we bring in Dominic Aragon of the RacingExperts.com. Dominic, a very good Easter weekend for you, I'm sure. And tell us about how things are in your world, my friend. Always good to hear from you.
Hey, always good to talk with you guys. Yeah, a great weekend out here in New Mexico. Spent Saturday with Felice's family up in Taos, New Mexico. That's northern New Mexico, a little small community, tourist town. And it's where she's from and her folks. So we got to spend a lot of time out there with her family and her grandma and her brother. And then Sunday we spent Easter with my family, my mom and dad, my brother Martin, who's been on this show before, my grandparents, my uncle, and their son Anthony. So it was a really good time. Definitely some good, much needed family time. And Tyler, same thing with you, right? You went back home to Oklahoma this past weekend.
I did. It was a good visit with mom and dad and some family and friends and such over the Easter holiday. And, always good for sure. And glad to be back in the great state of Texas. And, guys, we have plenty to discuss. Let's go ahead and start with Kyle Busch getting it done with a last lap pass. And Tyler Reddick back and forth with Chase Briscoe there at the very end. Briscoe had a chance to try to get him. It ends up that they both spin out. Kyle Busch comes in and takes the win away right from the jaws of victory. David, what was your reaction to those final moments with Kyle Busch stealing the win there?
Well, man, the whole race was unbelievable. And the guys that had good cars that could really get their cars to turn in the center and had really great forward bike traction up off the corners. And Tyler Reddick was unbelievable throughout the race. Chase Briscoe, I mean, that charge at the end, his car, you saw him coming, looked like he had the best car at the end. And, unfortunately, he did what he had to do. Anybody would have done it as a race car driver, and all the race car drivers across America that race, when you're coming down the last lap and you catch the leader, I mean, you just got to go for it. And, he drove into three a little bit deeper than normal. I mean, because he was going for it. Thought he could keep the car under control and looked like he was, but, the car got crossed up more than he wanted it to. And when it got crossed up, the right rear bumper part actually made contact with Tyler Reddick's, and just enough to spin both of them out, and really it was so exciting to watch it on television. And it was amazing to see that they had such a big lead at the time that looked like Tyler Reddick, if he could have kept his the momentum going, he might have had a shot at still winning the race, because I think Kyle Busch just barely got him at the start finish line, But man, what an exciting race! I I think NASCAR did a tremendous job. I'd like to know what y'all's thoughts are because, throughout the race, there was rain delays. I think there was maybe 3 or 4. I don't know exactly what the number was. And man, NASCAR did everything they could to make sure that the fans that were there in the stands and the people watching it on television saw it to the end. And I just take my hats off to NASCAR and Bristol Motor Speedway because, man, they ran it to the end. Like I said, there was I don't even know how many, Tyler, 3 or 4 rain delays, but man, exciting. And, it was just kind of interesting. Some of the guys that we saw run up front, kind of not the guys that you expected to run up front. You know what I mean? I was looking for Christopher Bell and maybe Kyle Larson to be a little bit closer to the front, but all in all, just a great race.
So let me ask you this, David. We heard from Tyler Reddick. He said in the post race that he was disappointed that he felt everything right there towards the end. But I've gone back and I've watched that replay a few times now. I don't know what more he could have done in that situation. I mean, he drove it as hard as he possibly could have. He held off, Chase Briscoe for as long as he could. Is there anything that Tyler Reddick could have done differently?
Only he knows. He had such a great car throughout the whole race and towards the end, before the last rain delay happened. I mean, he was, if it could have gone to the end, I think he had him covered. You know what I'm saying? I don't exactly, but I think he had an 8 or 9 car length lead at the time. And I felt like that it was going to be hard for them if, bearing no cautions would come out. There would be no cautions that he had it in the bank. He knows how hard he was driving that race car into the corners, and what his car would allow him to do on entry, because sometimes you can overdrive a car in the corner and it hurts you in the center. So he might have, and I don't know this, I'm just thinking as a driver, maybe he said, hey, 2 laps to go. I'm going to hit my marks just perfect. I'm not going to drive in so deep. Maybe he wasn't driving 110% like he was. And I don't know that for a fact. Maybe he backed off 10 or 15% to make sure he hit his marks and everything good. Just enough where it gave Chase Briscoe a shot at that of catching him and going for it at the end, But, man, I just think it was just an exciting race. Chase Briscoe, his car at the end, it was amazing, man. It looked like it was a car to win. You know what I mean? I mean, he was coming. You could see him coming. And, man, that thing turned so good in the center. And he got back to the throttle. And, man, it just shot off the corners. And you could just see him kind of eating up Chase, Tyler Reddick's lead. And, man, it just played out like you thought it was going to play out. He went for it. And, man, it was just exciting. I don't know, I heard what Tyler Reddick said, and only he knows if he did something different those last 2 or 3 laps to maybe protect what he had going on in the lead. But, I don't know. His spotter might have been telling him how good Briscoe was and that he was coming. I don't know. I didn't hear the spotter driver communication, but, man, my hat's off to both those drivers. I mean, Tyler Reddick, it's a shame to have a car that good and to drive it that well. I mean, he drove a hell of a race and to come up with not winning the race. But, man, I tell you what, the fans were not disappointed. I mean, I was with my entire family and, man, we were all – jumping up and down and going crazy, but it was exciting, man. And it was just a great race.
Yeah, it was. And Dominic, when watching the post race, and Jamie Little, I think was tremendous in capturing the moment of, getting Tyler Reddick's immediate reaction and then, holding the microphone of seeing Chase Briscoe come over, and the fact that we got to, be flies on the wall to hear them have that back and forth, and for Chase Briscoe to be humble about it and apologize and how friendly they were. I mean, We don't get those moments every day. That to me was cool. That was great sportsmanship. I felt bad for Chase Briscoe and Tyler Reddick, especially Chase there. But man, that was too cool. I thought that both those guys handled that situation with class.
They sure did. I think they looked like veterans out there. I mean, Reddick's been in the Cup Series 3 years. Chase Briscoe is second year, but you would have thought these guys had been racing Cup 20 years the way they had handled that. And I think Tyler Reddick had said to his team over the radio too on the cool down lap, I would have done the same thing. So for them to have that sportsmanship, to talk about it and not get into fist fights or blows, it shows that, hey, you know what? We're racers. We're at the end of the day, we were trying for the same end goal, to win a race. It didn't work out in our favor, but you're right. There was a lot of class with that move, Tyler.
Yeah. Both of those guys are class acts. When you're running first and second at Bristol and coming to the lead, I mean, it's, you expect finishes like that, especially at Bristol, and I just, it was just a class. I mean, just looking back on it, man, what a class act from both of them. They're both professionals. They're on top of their game, obviously two of the best in the sport. And to see them, and what's kind of cool, one thing that's cool about our sport of NASCAR auto racing is to be a fly on the wall at the moment where Chase Briscoe walks up to Tyler Reddick and said, hey, dude, I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? And it was just two classy, very, very competitive, very passionate race car drivers say, hey, dude, I'd have done the same thing. I mean, shake hands. And it was really a great moment that was captured live on television. It was really cool, and but man, the fans were not disappointed, and to be able to be a fly on the wall and see that interaction with those two, competitors was it just kind of put the icing on the cake, really.
Yeah. I would bet that Tyler Reddick gained a lot of fans on Sunday for how hard he raced and handling that with class and such, and everything. I mean, that to me spoke so highly of Tyler Reddick. I felt for him, David, because, we've talked a lot about Tyler Reddick the last 3 years, how he gets better every single week. And, he's the best driver RCR's had in a long time. And, they're competing at the highest level they've been in a while, and just comes so close to getting to victory lane. That win is coming sooner rather than later for Tyler Reddick.
Oh man, no doubt. He once he wins the first one, they'll come. I believe they'll come so much easier, and man, when you're that close, when you're in the top 5 pretty much every week and you're that close, it's going to happen. It's just a matter, it's not when, it's just, it's going to happen. It's, we don't know if it's going to be Talladega or Dover, but I see Tyler Reddick winning 2 or 3 times this year. He's just been so good.
He's too good not to win.
No, he's just a great race car driver. And Tyler said it best, man. He's got a lot of talent. RCR, when they give him a great race car, I mean, he's just, he's kind of the leader of the pack over there at RCR. And I believe, and I believe we're going to see multiple wins from Tyler Reddick.
I do too.
And hearing Tyler, you speak about Tyler Reddick, gaining fans. I think it was a very class act of Briscoe to walk up and say, hey, dude, I'm sorry, and they understand, sometimes you're on the good side of it, sometimes you're on the bad side of it, but man, you're just talking about harsh, tough competitors, and I just felt like it was kind of a cool moment for the sport, you know what I mean? But man, what a heck of a race.
Yeah. I got to with you guys too. I think it's Daniel Suarez leading all the laps that he did on Sunday. I feel like that's another driver. Trackhouse Racing, Team Trackhouse. We've talked a lot about in the last 2 months how on point that team has been with Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez. Well, I think his time's coming too.
I do too. And to add to that, Dominic, did anyone have Suarez on their radar for dirt?
No.
I mean, right. You could probably say the biggest knock on Daniel Suarez has been that he doesn't have a specialty of some sorts that he's relatively excels at. And so, when we go to a dirt track, this dirt race, you have all these dirt names. No one mentioned Daniel Suarez possibly being up there, and there he was.
Absolutely. Well, he did the same thing last year. He led the most laps in the dirt race last year, finished, I believe, in the top 5. And the same thing this year. He led the most laps again and didn't come away with the victory. But you're right. I think maybe it shows that he's a really well-rounded racer because he's run really well at tracks like Pocono and Michigan. But then he's run really well at Sonoma. And he won a stage at Watkins Glen a few years ago. And I believe that was in his rookie year. So that win's coming. It's just a matter of when, not if.
I think you're right, Dominic. I think he's just a well-rounded race car driver. I mean, you don't race at that level every Sunday in the Cup Series. Every guy out there is really, really good and earned the right to be there. And Daniel Suarez, I mean, he's and he's another Tyler Reddick. I think his wins are coming, you know what I mean? And it's a great story. It was amazing how good he was on the dirt. But, we always see Daniel Suarez up there, you know what I mean? And we won't be surprised to see him when he wins his first race this year. I won't, because that Trackhouse team was Ross Chastain. There's just a lot of momentum with that new racing team. It's amazing. And but man, what a cool race that was.
Yeah, it certainly was. Let's talk about Kyle Busch now. Guys, I like Kyle. I do. But I was not a fan of how things were handled after the race of, Kyle saying, you can never count me out here at Bristol, and just because we're on dirt, look at me, I can run on dirt and such. And then he had that goofy TikTok video where he was trying to imitate Tom Brady, and that just looked weird. I don't need the sideshow from Kyle Busch. And then on top of that, if he says that, hey, you'll take a win any way you can get it. I just heard from Kyle Busch 3 weeks ago saying that all Alex Bowman does is luck into wins. And literally, this was the exact same thing that happened to Bowman a couple of weeks ago. So, David, what's your thoughts on all this this stuff from Kyle Busch the last day or so since his win?
Well, you look at Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe and see that interaction, and I think, like you said, Tyler, they gained a lot of fans, those guys, hard competitors. And then you back up 3 weeks ago when Alex Bowman earned a win. I think it was Las Vegas,
yep.
And Alex earned that win. It worked out. The race played out. Sometimes the race plays out into your favor, and sometimes it doesn't play out for you. That race, when the caution came out, gave Alex Bowman a chance to put on some tires, make an adjustment, and he won the race. You know what I mean? And it was amazing. He earned it. And, and then to hear Kyle Busch's reaction, and I think a lot of that's just the frustration, the passion, and just the want to win, so bad that when you don't, and you open your mouth, you really shouldn't open your mouth when you're frustrated like that, because what he said, obviously he didn't gain a lot of fans. But sometimes, and again, I say this a lot, sometimes the race plays out into your favor, and sometimes it doesn't, And, Kyle Busch did not. He had a great car at Bristol. That thing turned really good in the center, and he had some great drive up off the corner. But his car wasn't as good as Tyler Reddick's and Chase Briscoe's, no doubt about it. But, you have to be there. If you put yourself, we're talking about Tyler Reddick, we're just talking about his wins are going to come because he's always in the top 5, top 10. And just like Kyle Busch is very competitive. When his team gives him a good race car, he's always there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He was there this time. He was there. He didn't have the dominant car, but when you're there week in and week out, the wins are going to come. Now, was he the dominant car? No. But the way it all played out, it played out into his favor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so a lot of times when you're frustrated because you had the dominant car and the race doesn't play out in your favor, caution comes out, and somebody gets to make an adjustment, put tires on, and then they beat you. Sometimes you just got to man up and say, hey, man, it just wasn't our day. My team did a heck of a job. Everything worked out, just didn't play out to our favor. Sometimes you just need to take the high road like the two guys we've been talking about did this week and just say, hey, man, congratulations to them. We had a great car. My team did an awesome job. It just wasn't to be. And then the next week, you know, somebody crashes and boom, there you are. You get the win, you know. And now, you know, after hearing Kyle Busch make that smart aleck frustrated statement about Alex Bowman, and then boom, here we go. He lucks into a win. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes it's best just to be humble, be thankful, thank your team. You did the best you could, and you move on, because the next week it might play out and you might luck into a win. And, you know, and then you got Tyler Jones and Dominic Aragon and myself talking about it. You know,
Right.
It kind of made him look funny, you know?
I mean, yeah, exactly, Dominic. I mean, you know, you're not going to see David here making goofy TikToks and such, you know. I mean, like, you know, I mean, the thing for me, like, it took away, in a sense, and I hate even saying that, of, you know, whether it's the way he reacted or trying to say, look at me, I can win on dirt and such, and all this. I mean, like, Kyle, you know, no one said that Kyle Busch couldn't win this past weekend. That's what blows my mind. He's acting like he had something to prove of some sorts. Nobody counted him out.
No, I agree. And I think there's so much that could have been celebrated with this one that, again, what you guys are saying takes away from that. This was the first race run on Easter since 1989. He joins really good company like Rusty Wallace, Joe Weatherly, Richard.
I mean, he tied Richard Petty's record for most consecutive seasons with a win, and nobody's talking about that right now.
Exactly. 18 straight years. That's unheard of. 18 straight years of a cup
In the 18 car.
In the 18 car. And we're not even, this isn't modern era. This is all time NASCAR records we're talking about. Richard Petty, at a time where there were, 5 cars that were competitive, maybe arguably easier for Petty to do it, a lot harder for Kyle Busch to do it in an era like this. But you're right. We're not talking about that. I think even the shades of 1989, North Wilkesboro, the Holly Farms 400, Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, they crash on the final lap. Jeff Bodine goes on by and he wins. He led 1 lap that day. Kyle Busch led 1 lap at Bristol. There's so many more comparisons we could draw, so many great things, but you're right. Kyle Busch's attitude overshadows it yet again.
Some things never change.
Yeah, you know, and Kyle Busch, you know, his confidence is over the top, you know what I mean? And, you know, we all know he's probably one of the all-time greatest, you know what I mean? We know that, you know.
Right,
and,
probably a top 5 driver ever.
You know what I mean? You put him with Richard Petty, AJ Foyt. I mean, the guy's incredible, you know, and I think Dominic, just his attitude sometimes and some of the remarks he makes, you know, hurts him with the fans. And, but man, you know, and I didn't see no TikTok. I don't follow TikTok, any of that other stuff. You know what I mean? But, you know, it's okay to be a humbled winner. Just be thankful to your sponsors, thankful that your team gave you a great car. You were there, you know, and, you know, I don't know, you know what I mean? We're all confident in our ability, you know what I mean? But I guess sometimes if you're overly confident, you know, I guess Kyle Busch may be overconfident. He can surely back it up. So, you know, at least he can back it up, you know. So right. Absolutely.
I think of how my brother handled it. He played football for 10 years. He'd play in high school, and I'd ask him after a game a couple of times, why aren't you spiking the football? He'd play as a tight end, wide receiver. He'd catch some touchdowns. Why aren't you spiking the football, celebrating with your team? You just go and hand the ball to the ref. And he told me, Dominic, I want to act like I've been there before, and I want to act like I'm going back. He goes, I know my abilities. I don't need to showboat. Like, okay, fair enough.
Absolutely. Right. Everybody's different, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle Busch, he reminds me of Tony Stewart sometimes, but I feel like Tony was more cool about it. Like Kyle came off as like a nerd almost, you know, of you know, look at me, here I am, you know, type of thing. You know, it was very, you know, very much a turnoff, I felt. The dirt this weekend, you know, you look at it, we had the rain show up a couple of times. Still managed to get through the night. A lot of cautions. Obviously, NASCAR made the right move to make this a night race because you didn't have the issues of dust like we did last year and such. But overall, exciting finish. Took a long way to finish this race. But, Dominic, I would call this weekend a success. I want to see this dirt thing again. Obviously, you still have some more logistics to work out. It's not perfect, but I thought that this was a win for NASCAR, and the ratings proved it with over 4 million viewers on Sunday night.
Especially, yeah, the rain didn't deter the viewers away, and I think with the dirt race returning next week, Bristol announced that on Tuesday, April 19th. They're going to have that dirt race back for a third straight year. They're still trying to be figured out on that. But guys, I'd love to see this thing have no rain issues, because if you recall last year, this thing got pushed to Monday, and we had all the rain issues this year. And hey, rain, Bristol, Tennessee, March, April, it's bound to happen. But if we could,
you got to move this to like May or something. Like Bristol this time of year just doesn't work with the rain.
Exactly. So if we can have some sort of thing where we get to see this race run in its entirety, no inclement weather interrupting it, I'd love to see it. I'm all for it.
David, what do you think? You like the Bristol dirt? What did you make of this weekend?
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, the track was prepared so much better. I mean, you know, NASCAR, Bristol Motor Speedway, the Bruton Smith family, man, they just done a tremendous job. I mean, to step out there and put a dirt race on at Bristol Motor Speedway, I mean, that was almost like, what's going to happen? You know, that's almost impossible. And it was cool that they stepped out there and did it. A lot of people was excited, and you know, there were some flaws, you know what I mean? And I think the sophomore year, the second year, they made it better. And I think every year it's going to get better and better. One of the things I was really kind of interesting is, you know, to see people run into there wasn't much of a cushion. You know, you could see people on a dirt track that's built on dirt, a real dirt track, and not putting dirt on asphalt or pavement. You know, it was interesting. I was watching cars, and they were really running the corner real deep and run up high, and you used the cushion. And man, a lot of times when they ran out into the corner, overdrove the corner, their cars wouldn't turn in the center, man. It was kind of interesting just watching people's how the different teams, different drivers, and what their cars were doing. You know, I mean, always interested to see the handling of the car, to try to learn something. And it seemed like the bottom of the racetrack, the center of the racetrack was good at times. It seemed like the top side was really good, but you could overdrive the corner a little bit sometimes, and people couldn't get their cars to turn in the center. But it was just amazing. And I don't know, it just looks like to me all the drivers are having a great time. And I don't know if they all are, because some of them can't get their cars to do what they want to do, and they can't get no forward traction. That's frustrating, you know what I mean? But all in all, it was awesome. You know, we hadn't even talked about the truck race. I didn't see the truck race, but I heard it was incredible as well. And you know, and I asked the question, I believe, Dominic, that Chase Elliott was in it. I think Joey Logano was in it. What other Cup stars was in the truck race? I'm leaving somebody out, I'm sure.
We had Harrison Burton. He was in that race as well.
Harrison Burton, Austin Dillon. You know, you look at those guys and you kind of expect them to be in the top 3, top 5. And I don't think any of our Cup stars even got close to winning the race. Was it Ben Rhodes that dominated, or came from the back and made a last lap pass to take the win? So I heard that the truck race was exciting as well, you know, and in the 99 truck, Ben Rhodes' truck really he was almost like a Chase Briscoe. He was hooked up, man, and he was coming. And so I just think the whole weekend, our good friend Mark Tate, one of our partners, one of our great friends we all love. Mark's such a great guy with T-Top Manufacturing. Mark was there, and, man, he had such a good time. I saw on some of his Facebook posts that, hell, he was out there, and I don't know, he was out there packing the track, man. Mark and his son, Austin, and some other people he had with him, they were in the cars packing the track. I thought that was pretty awesome, but not surprised by where we see Mark Tate at, you know what I mean? But I just think the whole weekend from a second year of dirt racing at Bristol I just think it was a home run. And I'm not surprised that we're going to see the dirt race at Bristol back for the third year next year.
Yeah, I think so. And Dominic, you know, I think this Bristol dirt race is going to be around for a long time. You know, you got some logistics still to work out, obviously, to help it improve in the future. But I think this is going to be unique to Bristol. I don't see there being other dirt races added to the schedule. Maybe an exhibition or something down the road, but you know, we saw like when Charlotte introduced the Roval, then there was an after effect of where Indy said they'll do the same thing. Daytona did the same thing. Some of the others. I don't see that being the case here. I don't think NASCAR wants anyone else doing what Bristol's doing and wants to make this Bristol's thing here. I don't see the the Cup Series going to Eldora or Knoxville or anyone else adding dirt like Bristol's doing here.
I think you're right on it. This is going to be exclusive to SMI and Bristol. And hey, if something does happen, maybe it'd be another SMI property. But I mean, even looking at the Bristol announcement on,
I think it'd have to be a dirt specific track.
Yeah, well, and looking at the announcement too, it makes me wonder, okay, is this going to stay with Easter weekend? Is this tied to Easter weekend, or is this going to be moved later in the year? I think that remains to be seen, and we'll know the schedule will be out later on this year, and that varies from year to year when that gets put out. But I'd be curious, Dave and Tyler, if this will stay exclusive to Easter, if this is a tradition that NASCAR is wanting to keep, or if it's going to stay maybe in April, remains to be seen.
Yeah, man, I love to race. I'd race every day if I could, all of us would. We love it so much. And, but, I'm kind of torn, Easter weekend, celebrate, the meaning of Easter and it's family time. I don't know. I think I'd like to see in the future, there's a lot of logistics and TV and different networks and how all that stuff works. But I'd like to see that weekend, everybody be off and to have a great holiday weekend with your families and celebrate the meaning of Easter, as much as I enjoyed the race Sunday night, it was incredible with our during towards the end of our Easter celebration with my family. We all took in the last part of the race and everybody loved it, but I don't know. I don't know what my opinion is. I'd like to see in the future if our whole industry kind of had that weekend off, even though it was such a great weekend of racing.
Well, David, what boggles my mind, I was talking about this with David Swope, who's also another friend of the show, and he has his show on ESPN Radio Albuquerque. We were talking about how this was the first Easter race since 1989, but even before that, you have to go further back to 1968, the last time NASCAR ran on Easter. And they only ran that race at Richmond in '89 because that race was originally scheduled after Daytona that season. They had to push it to that off weekend. It was originally scheduled as an off weekend because there was inclement weather that back to back days they could not get the race into Richmond, so they had to reschedule the race in April during Easter time. So it definitely some unique waters here, NASCAR doing the Easter thing.
Yeah, it is. I like it. They had a church service at the track. Chris Tomlin and Max Licato were involved and such, and they aired it on TV. So I thought that was cool. I wasn't there, but I would love to take in Easter that way of having church at the racetrack and watching it afterwards. That would have been cool. But
hey, Dominic.
Yeah,
we need to take Tyler to church more often when we're at the track.
Yes.
Yes, our good friends at the Motor Race and Outrage do a really good job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Guys, we will go ahead and move on to our news and notes segment in just one moment. But before we do, we want to tell you more about TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter is the official ticket resale marketplace of Worldwide Technology Raceway, where David won in 2004 driving for Spears Motorsports. They'll also be the presenting sponsor of the Cup race there at Worldwide Technology Raceway in June. Fans can get tickets to any type of event, including sports, concerts, and theater productions. TicketSmarter is committed to helping those in need by donating $1 from every transaction to various charity organizations. Head over to TicketSmarter.com to find tickets for upcoming events. That's TicketSmarter.com. Dominic, a lot going on in the racing world today.
A lot going on. Well, let's get started first with the entry list dropping Tuesday, the NASCAR Cup Series, Monday. You can't highlight the Cup Series entry list without highlighting who's going to be running at Talladega. We always talk about it being the great equalizer. David Aragon will be back in the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing. Daniel Hemrick is going to be in the 16 car in that all-star car for Colleague Racing. We have Greg Biffle in that part-time schedule with the 44 team, New York Racing. J.J. Ailey driving the 55 for MBM Motorsports. Landon Castle in the 77 car for Spire Motorsports. And Beard Motorsports filling the 62 with Noah Gregson with sponsorship from Wendy's. Certainly different drivers in the field this weekend for the Geico 500.
Good list there. What do you think of that list, David?
Man, it's wonderful, and I love I love every weekend wherever we're racing at. But when we go to Daytona and Talladega, you can see David Reagan get into a Rick Ware car. We've seen David Reagan pull into victory lane there at Talladega. And it's not a guy that we're used to seeing pull into victory lane. And this goes to show you that, Talladega, like you said, Dominic, is a great equalizer. You work that draft right and have some luck on your side, you can win a race there, and man, I'm excited. I'm excited to get in our number 08 Ford, TicketSmarter Ford Mustang, because we got a shot, you know what I mean? And it's just a great equalizer. I love racing short tracks, Martinsville, Bristol. I love going to super speedways like Daytona and Talladega, man. It's just, it's exciting. It's intense. The fans love it. Not all the drivers love it, but I love it. And I think, it's going to be a great weekend of great racing, you know what I mean? And hopefully we all do well.
My favorite part about Talladega, guys, is that, when you go to Daytona, start finish line is what you think of, right?
Right.
But Talladega, that extra turn, it changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen that extra turn is, I know it's not very far from the traditional start finish line, but it makes a hell of a difference, doesn't it, Dom?
Oh, sure thing. You have to go through the dog leg. It's another 2,000 feet, maybe 1,500 feet. Tell us in the comments below. I'm sure one of you guys know what the exact footage is between where it should be and where it actually is. But you're right. We've seen some crazy finishes there. I immediately think of 2009 Talladega, 2008 Talladega. There are so many finishes that could have been decided at that start finish line, but because it's moved down, you see a different outcome.
So what you trying to say, Dom, that tri-oval where all the start finish lines are, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the tri-oval when you're coming to that start finish line. It's on down towards turn one, and I think that's what makes Talladega so unique, and like you said, the finish, the 2009 Cup race when Brad Keselowski, Carl Edwards, flipped over and Brad won. I think Brad won the race. It was nuts, man. That was a crazy ending, but so much stuff happens in the trial. We'll come into that you see the checker flag waving, man, and you coming through the trial, we think you're going to win, and and like you said, Tyler, it's not that far away, but a lot of stuff transpires in that trial right there, start finish line, so I think that's really cool. It's just a unique racetrack, but it's so intense and so much fun
weekend for you, David. You got the family at the racetrack, and all your gangs going to be there. Matt Jennings even going to show up. Maggie, everybody. I mean, you got a whole posse coming with you there, Talladega.
Well, I was there for you, Dave.
Man, hey, anytime, just to have the opportunity to, I still pinch myself. I've been doing this a long time, and man, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get on the airplane tomorrow. Thursday evening and head that way. It's just, it's awesome to go through the tunnel there at Talladega. And when you come out of the tunnel, see that big, massive speedway, super speedway. But, to have my wife and then DJ and Vance coming with me to the racetrack and for them to love it as much as Dad does, it's pretty cool. Maggie Fix, everybody knows Maggie Fix. She takes care of me and all our social media stuff. She'll be there. But the cool part is, to have, Stan Ross with TicketSmarter, Digital Ally, the sponsors we have, Brett Baer, special report with Brett Baer, to have Brett Baer and Stan Ross as great supporters that allow us to race like we do. Man, I'm so blessed, so thankful. Mark Tate, Bo Carpenter, Kurt Springer, just all the people that make this possible. Tim Parker and all the sponsors we have. Man, you're so fortunate that people that they believe in you, they believe in what you're doing, they believe in SS Greenlight Racing, and give us an opportunity to go out there week in and week out and have a win. So pretty cool. Hopefully Brett Baer shows up this week. Matt Jennings, I was on the phone with him earlier and said, hey, Brett might show up at Talladega, and that's always a big treat to have Brett Baer with you. We watch him every day on Fox News on Special Report with Brett Baer, and when you're actually in his presence and see him at the racetrack, it's amazing that the NASCAR fans, the following that Brett Baer has, you know what I mean? At these NASCAR races, it's amazing. Every weekend and week out, people are like, hey, where's Brett? Where's Brett? I said, well, you know, if you turn the TV on at 6 p.m., you'll see where he's at. You know what I mean? But anyway, man, I think Stan Ross and his team with TicketSmarter and all the people from TicketSmarter are going to be there. So, man, it's just awesome, you know, and TicketSmarter, you know, everybody's ticket needs. It's a concert or a major league sporting event. Go to TicketSmarter.com, and man, that's a good looking race car, you know. And man, I, you know, I don't say this much, man, but I dream at night, think about it constantly that if we could pull in our, you know, special report with Brett Baer, TicketSmarter, Ford Mustang in Victory Lane, man, that would be awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but you know, hey, man, you got 37 other people trying to do the same thing. So, but just glad to have the opportunity. And, you know, when you're watching that race on television, you're seeing everybody run, you can know I'll have a big old smile on my face. You might not be able to see me, but just know I'll be out there loving every minute of it.
Guys, let's make some picks real quick. For me, I go back to Daytona, and it was the Fords that had race trim figured out. Chevys were best in qualifying, but when it came to the duels and when it came to the on-track action, the Fords had an advantage. I think that carries over. Daytona wasn't that long ago. You know, I'm looking for the Fords. I'm going to ride with this guy right here. I think Ryan Blaney gets it done at Talladega. He's my pick this weekend. How about you, Dom?
And I agree with you on that Ford camp. I think we're going to see Fords dominate and lead a majority of those laps on Sunday. I go with the guy that he is the king at Talladega. He hasn't had the best year, but that's going to go all the way. That point penalty that they had at Atlanta, that gets negated. Brad Keselowski picks up win number 6 at Talladega Superspeedway.
He is needing it badly. He's 30th in points right now, and they've gotten off to a bad start. RFK Racing has not run well since Daytona, basically. He hasn't had a top 10 finish since then. So Brad could certainly use that. Who's the name you're watching for this weekend, David?
Man, you know, it's hard to pick a winner. You know, it's hard to pick. You know, I know the Fords were really dominant, and they worked really good together at Daytona. And, you know, looking at Talladega this coming weekend, it's hard to say. I mean, you know, we know, you know, you can't ever count out Kyle Larson. You can't count out Chase Elliott. You know, looking at maybe Kevin Harvick, you know, there's so many. You know, we just talked about David Aragon. You know what I mean? He's a great super speedway plate racer. It'd be kind of cool to see an underdog guy win. You know, we talked about Tyler Reddick and, you know, Daniel Suarez. I mean, it's just, you know, I know you guys are picking, but it's hard for me to sit here and pick somebody because, man, it's such a crapshoot. You just don't know, you know. And, you know, what I do know is it's going to be a hell of a race. It always is. You know, Saturday's Xfinity race is going to be a great race. Sunday's Cup race is going to be a great race. And, you know, we'll be back on here next Tuesday with a cool guest. And we'll be talking about how cool Talladega was. You know what I mean? So,
that's beating around the bush. Give us one name. Come on, David.
Well, I mean, it's just hard to pick. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, I think Kevin Harvick really has a lot of momentum going. He's driving forward, you know, and you know, he's been lurking up there, getting closer and closer every week. You know, it'd be kind of cool to see Kevin Harvick back in the victory lane. So I'll go with Kevin Harvick.
Okay, there you have it. Dom, what else going on?
So we were talking about it last week on the show. How cool is it? The 3 cars returning at Talladega, RCR, Xfinity Series. One of your competitors this weekend, David, Jeffrey Earnhardt. We know he's getting that one race deal with Forever Lawn. But why not complete the trifecta? Larry McReynolds was announced as the crew chief. Larry's coming out of retirement on top of the pit box, first time in over 21 years to crew chief in NASCAR. And he's going to be working with Jeffrey Earnhardt. So you have a McReynolds, an Earnhardt, a 3-car, and Richard Childress, Talladega Superspeedway. How more nostalgic can you get than that?
Man, that's going to be awesome to see. And, you know, Larry McReynolds, I don't think it's enough credit. If you're watching Fox's NASCAR coverage, Larry is a genius. He has all the numbers crunched. He knows everything about these cars. I think Larry very well could, if you told him tomorrow, you know, hey, you're going to go be a full-time crew chief in the Cup Series with a big team, he would go out there and he could win races. Like, Larry's still got it. I'm excited to see. I'm more excited about Larry being crew chief this weekend than I am about Jeffrey Earnhardt in the 3-car, personally, David.
Well, I just think it's cool, man. Jeffrey's a great guy, great kid. He's not a kid, but man, he's he's been crawling and digging and fighting to stay in the sport and get great funding, from different companies, and to have an opportunity to race with really some of the best equipment in the series, RCR, and to have Larry McReynolds on top of the box calling the shot for Jeffrey Earnhardt, and have RCR car and with Richard Childress there. I mean, I think this would be a big, great Cinderella story for the sport, a feel-good story if Jeffrey can pull off a win. And man, he's going to have the equipment. Like you were saying, Tyler, Larry McReynolds is brilliant, knows the cars, knows how to win there at Talladega. But Larry McReynolds and Dale Earnhardt Sr. worked together. And to hear how this all came about, and for everybody to come together, it's going to be a really special moment for the Earnhardt family and for Richard Childress. And man, if I can't win the race Saturday afternoon, if I can't put that our Brett Baer TicketSmarter Ford Mustang in a victory lane, I'd love to see Jeffrey Earnhardt pull into victory lane. I just think that would be a big win for our industry, and definitely for Jeffrey and for the Earnhardt family.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see. Don, what else we got?
So other cool nostalgic news. North Wilkesboro racing action is going to be returning to North Wilkesboro later this summer. NASCAR announced in a press conference at Bristol Motor Speedway over the weekend that racing action is going to return at the famed short track in North Carolina. When asked about it, NASCAR officials said that it could be a conservative approach, but that we could see the Truck Series back there maybe as early as 2024. Cup Series, Xfinity action remains to be seen, but it sounds like a Truck Series at North Wilkesboro race could be happening in the not too distant future.
Well, David, the thing that stands out to me about that is I think one of the things that made the Truck Series in the Xfinity Series unique, and you saw this firsthand, was the standalone races in the weekends where we would go to, Xfinity and Truck were there, but Cup weren't there, or maybe it was just Truck, or maybe it was just Xfinity, and whatever it may be, and the crowds would show up. There was something unique about giving those markets that couldn't get Cup races, Xfinity and Truck races. So North Wilkesboro, I don't think North Wilkesboro, as of right now, is, that has what it takes to host a Cup race. But they certainly could host a Truck and Xfinity race and probably have a pretty decent crowd.
Well, Tyler, I'm going to have to pleasantly disagree with you. I mean, North Wilkesboro, ever since I was a kid watching, NASCAR racing on television, man, that racetrack, they packed them in. And, I don't remember what year it was, but when they took away the first year, they didn't have racing in North Wilkesboro on the Cup side. I mean, that was a big deal. That devastated that part of that area right there in North Carolina, not too far from north of Charlotte, North Carolina. But man, the following and the love and the passion that the fans have for that racetrack is unbelievable. And man, I'm excited because over the years I've heard lots of I've read lots of story about the racetrack. Junior Johnson lived, his race shop, he lived right down the road from the Speedway, all the greats that have won there, and all the passion for that racetrack from a race fan standpoint. And, I've over the years, and you guys have seen it as well, it's like, we need to bring back the track. And now that it's going to be back, man, I think if there is a NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race there, Tyler, I think you're right. I think they'll sell that place out by itself if it's a truck race. Even if there's a NASCAR K&N race or a NASCAR ARCA race there, I think the fans will show NASCAR and everybody else how much they appreciate what's going on there, because there's such a big love for Rockingham, for North Wilkesboro. These are racetracks that have been around for a long time, and and the industry was so sad, and the race fans were so sad to see it go as long as it's been gone. So, hey, I'm excited, man. I've never raced there myself. And before I'm done, I'd love to be able to run and say I want to race there, because I saw a lot of races on television from North Wilkesboro.
Yeah. That'd be great. Go ahead, Dom.
No, I agree with you, Dave. I mean, I wasn't old enough to remember races at North Wilkesboro, but I've seen some of the highlights, 80s and 90s, and you talk about the greats that did so well there. Dale Earnhardt was always a consistent factor there. Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Bodine, Jeff Gordon, so many great names in the sport that have run so well there. And the last Cup race was in 96, and Jeff Gordon won that race. So, I believe North Wilkesboro was taken off the circuit, so Texas Motor Speedway could have a Cup Series date in 97. So it's been, 25 years since we've seen something at North Wilkesboro in the Cup Series.
Yeah,
I'd love to see the Cup Series back.
I think in the minds of a TV and a media guy, and for me, I'm like, another race in North Carolina? God, no, please. No. We already go to Darlington, South Carolina twice, Charlotte twice, and Atlanta twice, and all this. I mean, like, you got to grow the sport. Like, let's get a Chicago street race going, Let's go out west and add some more dates and such. To me, that's what I'm like. Yes, North Wilkesboro would be great for truck and Xfinity. As far as building, this sport across the country here, I don't see where North Wilkesboro has any market built. Although the track has great history, but
there's a lot of the fan base in the South, and I think a lot of the fans in that area. I think that there could be a happy medium somewhere. I agree with you, Tyler. The sport has done a good job of expanding over the years, but also there's that nostalgia.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing. I just learned something. They took that race away to give Texas a Cup race. Wow, man. I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, time for our Ask David segment presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter came aboard as the primary sponsor this year on David's 08 Ford Mustang, and we want to tell you a little bit about what they do. TicketSmarter is a national ticket resale marketplace with tickets to over 125,000 live events, including NASCAR and other forms of motorsports. Fans can get tickets to every NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck Series race throughout the season. Visit TicketSmarter.com for more. That's TicketSmarter.com. First question from the inbox comes from Mandy. Mandy wants to know, David, how do you feel about the federal mask mandate ending on airplanes?
Mandy, that's an awesome question, and I love it. You know what I mean? I love it. We Tyler, myself, Dominic, we're on airplanes all the time, and I just think it's wonderful. I really thought that they should have ended a long time ago. You know what I mean? Golly, you're running late, trying to get to the airport week in and week out. Next thing you know, you're in the airport, and somebody said, "Hey, man, where's your mask?" I'm like, "Oh man, I forgot about my mask." And I don't know. You meet a lot of great people on the airplanes, and you can't really see their faces, and you're sitting next to people and they're trying to talk to you. You can't understand them. I think it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And I'm so excited that we don't, going to Talladega here in the next couple of days, I'm going to be able to get on an airplane, Tyler, and not wear a mask. So great question. I'm excited about it.
And your family's coming with you, and I bet you're glad you don't have to put that mask on your boys either.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Great question, though. I love that.
Dominic, I'm so thrilled. No more masks on Ubers and Lyfts either and such. We went to Texas last year. We were saying ourselves, we could smell the freedom in the air. Now everybody's got the freedom.
Yeah. No, the last time I got on an airplane without having to wear a mask was going to the 2019 Ford Championship weekend at Homestead. I think that might have been the last time for you. Or no, you had the Daytona trip, I think, a few weeks after that.
I remember going to the Daytona 500, and on my way back, I was sitting in the airport, and I was seeing all these people wearing masks. I'm like, what is this? What's going on here? What did I know? I will not miss wearing a mask. I hope that I never have to wear one of those things ever again, though.
Hey, I feel that, Tyler. And the mask mandate got lifted here in the state of New Mexico a couple months back, so that was nice. And awesome. It's nice to see we're coming out on the other side of this. Yes, it was serious. Yes, there's a lot that happened, but at the same time, I think as a country, we've grown, we've learned a lot, and we've come out bigger and better.
Absolutely.
Next question. This comes from Rod. Rod wants to know, David, How would you do if you had the chance to run for a powerhouse team like Hendrick or Gibbs?
Man, hey, if you couldn't get the job done, I needed to quit a long time ago, I believe I could get in that equipment. You look at the Xfinity car, the 18 car, the 54 car, the Gibbs Toyota cars. I mean, it really, all the different drivers that have driven those cars have been in the victory lane, and I would hope, and I feel like that I would win my fair share of races, and if I couldn't, that would be very disappointing, to be honest with you, because that's what everybody strives for, is to drive on those powerhouse cars, and not everybody will ever get those opportunities to do that. But I feel like I would be able to win races. And look, let me share with you all the, you look at the NASCAR Truck Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the NASCAR Cup Series. Everybody that races in NASCAR, they're all winners and champions. They come from different parts of the United States or other countries. The men and women, the young kids, they're champions. They earned the right to be in NASCAR. And I feel like if you took any driver that's competing in any of those three series and put them in a powerhouse car, that they could win races, because, man, when you're competing at the top level of NASCAR racing, I mean, there's not how many drivers in the world are in NASCAR. I think the Truck Series has 36 drivers, Xfinity 38, and the Cup Series 40. So, man, you add all that up, and there's 100 something competitors in the world that race in NASCAR, and these men and women, my competitors, and these people are good. They're good. They didn't get there on luck. They're good because they earned the right to be there. So, to ask that question to me, or ask, we talked about Jeffrey Earnhardt here just a minute ago, having the opportunity to drive for Richard Childress. Jeffrey Earnhardt has not been a victory lane in NASCAR. And I think if you put him in the right equipment, a powerhouse team, that he would go to victory lane. And no different from myself, and I love the team I'm with, SS Greenlight Racing, Bobby Dotter, and my crew chief, Jason Miller, and man, our awesome sponsors. But we're a tough team. We have a lot of passion. We work hard. There's a lot of want to in the team, but I don't know if you would consider our team, the Xfinity Series, a powerhouse team. We're not, but I would like to think that if I had the opportunity to get into a powerhouse team car, that I would win. I believe I would. And I think if you ask any driver that races in NASCAR, if they had the opportunity to drive a Hendrick Motorsports car or a Joe Gibbs Toyota, or a Roger Penske car, that they would tell you that they could go to victory lane too. You know what I mean? I mean, we have in the past and can still do it today. So absolutely, I believe I would go to victory lane.
I like it.
Great question.
Yeah. Dominic, you have something to add?
I do have a question. This one comes from Dominic Aragon with the racingexperts.com and ESPN Radio Albuquerque. I love asking this question for drivers.
and the Let's Go Racing with David Starr podcast.
Let's Go Racing with David Starr podcast. You're right. So one of my favorite questions to ask drivers, Dave, before they buckle up for Talladega or Daytona is, okay, you have however many cars in the field. So in this case, 38 cars in the Xfinity field. But how many, granted, we know it's an equalizer race. There's so many cars that are even out there. It's a great equalizer, Daytona and Talladega. But how many cars in Saturday's race, in your race Saturday, have a realistic shot of winning?
Man, the field is really stacked on the Xfinity side. I think, man, I want to say all 38, to be honest with you, because, man, the Xfinity Series last couple of years is just gotten tougher and tougher. And the teams have really stepped up their engine programs and engineering, and I believe, I just believe that everybody, all 38 competitors, have a shot to win at those two racetracks. You know what I mean? We know who the powerhouse cars are, and who the same cars and the same organizations that are always going to be in the top 10 week in and week out. But that changes at Talladega and Daytona, you know what I mean? And over the years, I've gotten so close to winning those races. Not that I had a powerhouse team or powerhouse race car, but the great equalizer gave me that opportunity, And but I believe Saturday's Xfinity race, I believe all 38 cars have the opportunity to win.
I'm going to ask Brandon Brown about that. Did anyone mention him as a possibility? Back in the fall race, ahead of time. I mean, that came out in left field, that win that he had last year.
And that was a very popular win, wasn't it, Tyler?
Yeah, it was. I was thinking about this stuff along those same lines. How different would our country be right now if Brandon Brown finished second in that race?
That's true. Well, I'm going to take that a step further. He tweeted out a few days ago, because there was that debate about, hey, should we be interviewing the drivers at the start-finish line at Victory Lane? And he chimed in on that. He goes, my life would probably be different if I was interviewed at Victory Lane.
Yeah, he's not
yeah,
wrong.
Man, they were chanting, let's go, Brandon. You know what I mean? So hey, let's go to Victory Lane on the start-finish line, and let's let everybody chant again.
Right. Yes.
That was awesome.
Oh man. Yeah. That's you talk about, some of those sports conspiracy theories. I'm sure Brandon Brown's been thinking a few times, man, what if I just finished second in that race? What would happen? If we were, I bet though that he's, at the end of the day, he'll take that win anyway and get it. Guys, we got to go. Big thanks to all our listeners for joining us. Next week, Don, we have a great guest joining us.
We have a great guest. We're happy and proud to announce we've been able to schedule him here on our schedule at Let's Go Racing for next week's show. Matt DiBenedetto, NASCAR Camping World Truck Series competitor and veteran of the NASCAR Cup Series. DiBenedetto will join our show, and looking forward.
Matty D's coming on with us.
Matt's coming on with us next week.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
He was in the playoffs just a couple of years ago in the Cup Series. Now he's contending on the NASCAR Truck Series level. So excited to have Matty D on, and that guy, Dominic, has been through a lot of peaks and valleys throughout his career. It's hard not to root on Matty D.
Absolutely. And I think there's going to be a big following and a big listening on that. I know some of you listening are looking forward to that show already. Tell us there in the comments here on YouTube, or if you're listening on any of the podcast platforms, or at that email, davidstarpodcast@gmail.com. Send in your questions for Matt and send in your questions for David. We're going to try to get to as many of them as we can next week.
Yeah, looking forward to that. As always, subscribe to Let's Go Racing with David Starr. New episodes out each and every Wednesday. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, as well as YouTube. Hit that like button and turn on the notifications on the subscription tab on YouTube as well, so you can be the first to see our new videos that we post throughout the week on the channel. And as always, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Star Podcast, Facebook.com/David Starr Podcast, and send us an email, davidstarpodcast@gmail.com. Before we go, Dominic, real quick, what's going on with you this week, man?
So I'll be out here in New Mexico. We're going to have Jonathan Field and Jonathan Olkowski out at Talladega on location for us this weekend in Alabama. That's going to be awesome. I'll be watching from New Mexico and covering remotely. How about you, Tyler?
I'll be holding things down back here in the state of Texas this weekend, watching from afar, but certainly jealous I can't be out in Talladega this weekend. I know you guys are going to have a good time. David, we mentioned family's going to be out there, and you guys are certainly going to have a good time on Talladega Boulevard there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Just excited to get back.
Bring some beads with you.
Well, I do. I'm taking my kids, Tom. Yeah, just man, looking forward to having Easter weekend off. Looking forward to getting back to the racetrack. And before we get there, just last couple of days, been working at the racing school, the Team Texas High Performance Driving School. And for our fans, anybody out there that wants to see what it's like to be a NASCAR driver, check out teamtexas.com. That's our NASCAR racing school that's based at the Texas Motor Speedway. And I can't wait to get Tyler Jones and Dominic in a race car sometime, man. I think they'll love it. But anyway, it's going to be a great race weekend this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll hold you to that. We got to get in that race car.
I totally do. I've tested it was a street stock car, Ken Kurt's street stock car. I know he listens to the show. He let me test his car out at Uranium Capital Speedway here in Grants about a year ago. Went about maybe 50, 60 miles an hour. I'm looking forward to going 150 or 160
well,
miles.
Dom, I can tell you it's completely night and day different from what you're telling me, but I think you'll be okay. We'll get you and Tyler in a race car, and let y'all see what it feels like to go 155 miles an hour around the Texas Motor Speedway. You guys might want to change professions on me once you start doing that.
Yeah, and you got to ride the high line. You can't go low. You want to. That's actually the safer route to be close to the wall. So it sounds like a lot of fun, guys. We got to go. Look forward to having Matt DiBenedetto on next week. Don't miss it. We'll have a great time and recap the race at Talladega on next week's show as well. We'll put the checker flag out on this edition of Let's Go Racing. For Dominic, Aragon, David Starr, Tyler Jones, saying so long. We'll see you next week.